We're gonna talk to some people, gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna talk to some people, gonna learn a lot of stuff. We're gonna talk to some people, gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna talk to some people, gonna learn a lot of stuff. Cause Kristin knows blank.
Hi guys, it's the Kristin Knows Blank podcast, where I sit down with a friend of comedy and we chit chat, play 5 quick questions, do a Mad Lib, and then everybody goes home better people. My guest today is wonderful. It's Bob Rivers. He's been in the radio game for a long time. You might remember him from the Bob and Zip show in Massachusetts, 98 Rock in Baltimore. He did Twisted Radio, the Bob Rivers show in Seattle, and he was the man responsible for Twisted Tunes, which actually inspired me to become a musical comedian. But before we get to Bob, hi guys, I'm Kristin Key. I'm the host of this craziness. So check out my website, kristinkey.com. And from there, you can follow me on all my social media, watch all of my videos like 100,000 times a piece. And yeah, let's be friends online. Also, if you want to support this show or all of my shows, join my Patreon. It's so much fun. There are exclusive bonus posts. We have a monthly game night. It's totally fun. Also, I have another show. It's called Friday Live at 5. You can find that on my YouTube page or my Facebook. And I go live. I stream. We play games. There's music. It's really fun. So check out the Friday Live at 5 show. Now, my guest today, I met on his radio show when he had the Bob Rivers show in Seattle, and then found out that I had been a fan of his since I was a kid, listening to his Twisted Christmas albums on the Dr. Demento show. So, computer lady, play my interview with Bob Rivers.
Playing interview with Bob Rivers.
Bob, thank you for joining the show today. I'm so glad to have you. I'm so excited.
It is my pleasure. It is my honor. And it is really, as a senior citizen, a good thing to do, as opposed to playing cards or
Really,
shuffleboard.
this is my people now. You are my demographic. This is who I gravitate towards. There is so much I want to ask you. So I'm gonna dive right in. I knew you first as the host of the Bob Rivers show, a wildly popular Seattle radio show, and I'd been on your show a couple times, several times over the years. I used to drink a lot, so I don't remember most of my appearances. But it took a while after that to find out that I'd been a fan of yours since I was a kid. I did not know that you were the man behind Twisted Tunes.
Yes, and it's so funny. Most people don't know that, oh, you're the guy who did those Christmas songs? And yeah, and I so I got this very, I can really eat anonymously in any restaurant in America.
I want to change that. I want to out you everywhere I go. I'm like, did you know this guy? And people are like, oh, I know that music. I for some reason, I guess I'm a kid or whatever. You don't think there is a guy. You're just like, there's got to be like a whole company. You know?
That makes, oh, yeah, you mean that makes those parodies?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was, in a way it was, because, so, see, I'm a very insecure performer. And so
you're a performer.
I have terrible anxiety. Like, I have crippling empathy. So in order to work, I have to work with somebody in a group. Like, what'd you do? Get on stage by yourself? I think I would freak out. I would be like a mouse. I would have a heart attack. And so anyway, with the Twisted Tunes, it was like being part of this huge, the opposite of a church group, because we were desecrating religious songs, but I know. But it was like I would gather, I had people from the Seattle Symphony Orchestra play on the real strings on some of the songs, like All You Need Is Elves. I had real semi-famous people play, as long as I promised never to out them. Wow. And we had a church group that this was their guilty pleasure, that they were butchering Christmas songs.
Did they do the restroom door said gentleman?
Yes.
Oh, I'm like, this is the things you wonder. You're like, okay. Because then after I knew you're the man behind it and you had the radio show, I'm like, that makes sense. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, it doesn't. Because just because you have a radio show doesn't mean that you have access to a choir. I'm like, how do you talk people into this? Do you hire people? So yeah, how did you find a church choir that wanted to?
So a little bit like what I think is the magic of you, Kristin, because I just saw your show in Vegas and I was just enthralled. You bring the fun into a room, and it's impossible to be in the room with you without being fun. So what I was literally the master of ceremonies, the maestro. I would say to this group of people, hey, well, and in the case of a specific church group who shall be unnamed, I would say, what would you think about singing, the restroom door said gentlemen? And oh, that's cute. Oh, titters, that's funny. And then we would get together, and oftentimes these songs would take on new lyrics. People would laugh and shout out an idea, and I would go, we got to use that. So we'd recut that part. Like the song The 12 Pains of Christmas. Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah, many times.
Most of it made up in the studio.
Oh.
I had like 6 or 7 pains of Christmas, and I said, let's just wing it. And so everybody, like it's a collaboration. It's like an improv.
I would fangirl everybody from Ringing Up the Light. My favorite is Hangovers.
Hangovers. That's,
why is he Paul Lynde? It's wonderful.
That's funny. That's Dennis, and he was trying to do he was doing Paul Lynde and a little bit of Carol O'Connor, a little bit of Archie.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yes.
definitely got the Paul Lynde. That's crunchy.
And the other guy was
Hangovers.
Robert Ellis Orrell, who had one hit in the 70s. I think you could look him up. He had a big top 40 hit. And he was the guy, he was the last guy. And he came up with all rigging up the lights. One light goes out, they all go out.
You think you're so smart? You ring up the lights.
Yes. Oh, a little story about my kids. Both my kids are on there. They are now 40 years old and 38 years old.
Are they Daddy, I Want Some Candy?
Well, they're
Or
interchangeable. So,
Okay.
so each time there's a kid, once you get to the kids, Daddy, I want some candy. I want a transformer for Christmas. And then at the end, when we did the whole big build-up, we didn't want to just do another joke. So this
they're
is
just sobbing, right?
well, this is child abuse, but and this is so funny because it's Andrew. I wanted to get Andrew to cry. And what I did was I held a piece of candy, like a Snickers bar, just out of his reach and told him to roll tape. And he was reaching for the candy. And he was maybe about 2 at this time. And he was reaching for the candy, and he couldn't reach the candy. And he went, "Rah, rah." And I went, all right, we got the cry. Let's just stick that in there. The crying kid.
Oh my God, it's the best thing Andrew has ever done, and he's done some amazing things. That's the credit now that I'm like, oh, that's a guy. He's the kid.
You're crying at the 12 Pains, yeah. But it was fun because secretly, as a kid, I dreamed of being a rock star. Like really almost everybody at that age, the
Yeah.
Beatles were big. Being a rock star was like being a tech star is today. The rock stars were it. And
Way more attractive, I think, to be a rock star than to be
yeah.
an Elon Musk.
I know that's the first one that came to my mind too. Hang on, let me just. Okay, I got rid of it. So, yeah. So it was. I couldn't make. I tried. I was in a couple of bands, and I just didn't have the talent, or it's not even the talent. The perseverance to spend 10,000 hours repeating something and learning, and then making all these neural pathways. Great musicians work great anybody, the whole 10,000 hours thing. They work incredibly hard. So I wanted to make music, but I really realized I'm a producer and I'm a little bit of a comic. So I should just get other people to do all of it.
Well done, though. Well done. And I have a specific song I'm curious about. Did you write it, or did you have the idea for it, or who did? It's a song called "There's Something Stuck Up in the Chimney." Who was the genius behind this one? Because I remember listening to it as a child and going through the entire journey of the song and not understanding it until the end. So what a great build. But yeah, tell me the story behind this song.
That song is one of several original songs on the album. And I worked with 2 partners making the album, a guy named Brian Silva and Dennis Amiro, who are both amazing musicians. In fact, Dennis Amiro still tours as one of the lead singers of the band Orleans. So you can see him in concert and on a cruise ship. And Dennis, a brilliant musician. And they both had these sixth sense of humor. And Dennis wrote, I'm dressing up like Santa Claus this Christmas as soon as I get out on parole. That's one of the songs. And Brian came up with, there's something stuck up in the chimney, and I don't know what it is. The girl who sang it is the daughter of one of the great singers. And I was in Worcester, Massachusetts at this time, which doesn't sound like London, England, or Seattle or Los Angeles, But there happened to be some incredible musicians as part of the community. This one guy, Cliff Goodwin, played for Joe Cocker, toured the world, and he was on Solid Gold Saturday night, every Saturday on TV. And he would wear my radio station's T-shirt. And anyway, he worked with this gal, Lorna, what's her name? Joanne List. Her daughter was 9, and Lorna was learning how to sing. And so we brought little Lorna in there at 9 years old. There's something stuck up in the chimney, and I don't know what it is. And it was just beautiful. She's probably a grandmother by now.
Yeah, I was like, no, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think we were similar in age the first time I heard that song. I think that's why I was really drawn to it. I was like, this is adorable. And then as the song goes on, it really reveals itself as,
Yes.
Santa died in the chimney. But my brother says he's already here. Genius. It's absolute genius. So along the way, you developed quite a love of live performances and live performers. I want to know who's on your bucket list that you haven't checked as being like, what's the live performance or show that you would like to see?
This is going to be an odd answer, which I know you'll like because you don't like easy answers.
Let's just share. Yeah.
Yeah, believe it or not, Taylor Swift.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not unexpected.
No, I heard she's amazing though live. Wow.
Well, but I like seeing younger acts that are at the top of their game now, so I can just experience the feeling of what that must be like and how much work goes into it.
Oh yeah, some of these these shows are huge. But on the other hand, because I saw Paul Simon a few years ago. I saw Hall & Oates all at the Bowl, and I was like, there is a definite difference seeing somebody. I don't want to say the golden years of their life, but it's a different show.
Yeah, I saw Sting last week. We go to a concert every week. I saw Sting last week, and I don't know. He did great. The band was awesome, but he looks a little like Popeye now. Like,
oh, Popeye!
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, I don't look like me from 40 years ago either. And so, and he sang.
You look like Andrew with an age filter on.
Yes, but it's so at a certain age, it's reverence for the artist. It's the nostalgia. It's also gratitude that, in many cases, these classic rock artists are fabulously wealthy. They do not need to be on the road. Yeah. And they're doing a couple of things. They're taking the art, their portfolio of human contact and connection, and they're sharing it with these broad audiences to keep it alive and keep it going. And I think that's why they do. I think that's the main that, and they're just performers their whole life. It's
fun to perform. Did you? I'm sure you've seen Fleetwood Mac a few times.
Yes.
Did you see him in the last decade?
I missed the very last incarnation where they kicked the angry guitar player out.
Okay, I missed that one too. I was there for the Christy McVie was there. The whole band was back together, and it was like
we saw that. Yes,
it's one of the best concerts I've ever. Alanis was the best concert I've ever seen in my entire life. Alanis,
she was awesome.
Little Pill. I mean, I could have died that day and been happy. But the second was Fleetwood Mac is just as good as they ever were. Yeah,
amazing. And to do that, there's a couple ways to do that. One is to have hard drives in the back and run tape recordings of everything. and the other is to be so. Can I use foul language?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. To be so chicken good that goose good. Sorry. To be so effing good. I can see my mother, she trained me. Anyway, so.
Oh, you're recovering Catholic. Okay.
I am. Yeah. So we're going to get to that. To be so good that you don't need a net live, that you, you need good production. Elton John was fabulous. But you can pull it off live with the same gravitas that's on the record. Very rare, very hard to do.
That's Lindsey Buckingham, though. That was what was as a guitar player. It made me want to put down the guitar for a few weeks because watching him play songs that I thought had to be 2 to 3 guitars and sing that it's one man on one guitar, and you go, this changed everything I think I know about guitar playing. And what a dick! What a dick! But what a great guitar player.
He was the worst, by all accounts.
Yeah, just a dirtbag, but so
And by the way,
talented.
you must run into that in comedy too. Some brilliant people that are not pleasant, and maybe some really, some brilliant people that are pleasant, and there is no rhyme or reason to it, right? It's
It's frustrating. You don't know why. There's just no, why does somebody get plucked and become, superstar famous and is just a dirtbag? And then someone that, I know this guy, and I'm not going to mention his, well, maybe I will. I mean, I don't know if too many people know about Dustin Ybarra. He's a friend of mine out here, and I think he should be a household name. He's so
I think
funny.
I just saw him. Doesn't he look like Jack Black?
Yes, he does.
Yes,
He
I just saw
does.
him. I saw him on your clip, but I also just saw him at Comedy Cellar the other night.
Oh yeah. He plays. He's out here. He's hustling. He's putting in the work, and so he's like. I feel like he's. If he doesn't explode, then it's like one of those things like I don't understand. But also, I may just not understand because there's some really really funny, talented people that. I did a podcast years ago with this guy that had been on the Johnny Carson show, and he goes like 7 times. He goes, the myth was, if Johnny invites you over to the couch, you made it. He goes, I've been on that couch 7 times. Never got a sitcom. And I'm like, I'd never heard of the guy. I'd never seen him. I'm like, okay, so am I going to be that guy or am I going to be,
Can
Ellen?
I tell you a Johnny Carson story?
Yes, I love Johnny Carson.
I mean, it's like talking about Moses in comedy, right? To talk about Johnny Carson.
Jesus.
When I first was doing radio, I was basically a disc jockey who talked. I wanted to sound like a disc jockey. 13 waves with the request lines open right now. 79-13-13. Give us a call. That was the kind of disc jockey I was. And there were these performers who did improv conversation and did mornings. And I thought, oh, I can't do that. I'm scared to death. And as I foreshadowed to you, I eventually discovered that I'm okay with a group and that I'm actually a pretty good conductor. So my very first job doing mornings was caused by someone else quitting, and they needed a replacement, temporary, interim host. And they put me in there because I had a good voice and I probably wouldn't fuck it up too bad. Oh, I finally got the foul language. Anyway, I know you.
Jesus wins.
And it was WAAF in Worcester, which is a move-in station to Boston. And I was on the air and I was just frightened to be doing it all by myself. So I started doing just bits and song parodies and just trying to surround myself with as many people as possible. But the main thing that I did the first few weeks on the air was I'm like, I have no idea how to do this. I have to be on with these people and I have to talk to them. They have to talk back to me and I have to keep it interesting and somehow be feeling the whole room. And so I went to a stereo shop called Lizer Sound with my wife up on the big hill, and I bought maybe one of the biggest technology investments I've ever made in my life. I bought a VCR. And I bought this in 1981 dollars. So it was $897.
Wow.
What's that, about 50 grand today? It's a
That's a very expensive piece of equipment.
And why did I buy that VCR? So I could tape record The Tonight Show. And every day when I got home from work, I watched Johnny interview guests. And I just did that. And then when I was on the air, I tried to be like Johnny.
Wow. Well, I mean, talk about studying from the master, though. He really was. He was the most charming, disarming host that I think has ever been.
And self-effacing, which for me
Absolutely.
is very convenient
Yeah.
because I deserve it.
How marvelous. How wonderful. So, Mike, let me ask you a question. So you I'm sure travel to see a lot of these live shows. How did you have a fear of flying? And then how did you overcome it?
I was a very fearful kid. When I was like 4, my parents had a scary lamp.
Okay.
I mean, looked like a monster. It was one of those lamps that has a thing like this, and it was black. It just looked like an evil robot monster from a movie. And you know how when you're a kid, there's a monster under the bed?
Sure.
Who told me that first? Who do I blame for even thinking that thought? But so I used to check under the bed every night. I used to suspect that lamp was coming up the stairs to eat me.
Okay.
It was basically, I'm a pretty troubled kid.
Fair.
And I think that transferred to flying. So every time I had to get on an airplane, was certain as I walked down the gangway that this thing can't possibly stay in. I had no logic to it.
No, but I mean, that's what fear, there's no logic in fear. It's just, it makes sense. Did you, I don't know, like, so were you a more hesitant flyer? Did you take less flights, or was it just a panic induced every time you got on one?
Someone had to die.
Oh, okay. Only flew for
I had to be at their funeral.
Okay. And had to die far enough away where you couldn't drive.
And because I'm in radio and you get fired and you move from town to town, I had to get fired and have to go to a new job that I had to fly to. I would never, and then my wife, would guilt me, and I would guilt myself into taking her on vacation, which was always be clutching it. And so, I was total fear of flying and didn't fly unless I had to. And then a weird thing happened. I was, getting a little more successful with the show. So there were more things, there were conventions, there were things to go to. And my agent, I now had an agent, was planning to negotiate my next contract with CBS. And so he said, let's go up to the San Juans and we'll go out whale watching. I did have a little bit of a boat by then. And we'll go out whale watching and then we'll come back. And I'm like, that's a lot to do in one day. But we said, okay, let's do it. The end of that day, we're headed for the ferry boat to go back to Seattle. And I hear this, honk. We missed the ferry.
Oh, no.
And Paul Anderson, my agent, who will love this plug, looks at me and he goes, well, no problem. I'll just book us a charter flight to get us to Anacortes. And he lifts up his phone.
Baller
and he
move right there.
yeah, total baller.
It's okay. I'll just grab us a Coke, just throw a plane just for us.
Just for us, yes.
Just for us.
And I look at him and I go, Paul, I don't fly in little planes. And he looked at me like,
that's even more baller than I'm gonna get us a private jet. I don't fly in private jets. Like, who?
Well, to be fair, it was a Cessna 172. So it's kind of like the feeling inside is like getting into a Volkswagen.
Sure.
That's a combination of Volkswagen and chitty chitty bang bang. So I remember thinking, I hope he can't get a flight. Because if he didn't, we'd be on the 10 o'clock ferry and I'd get home at 1:30 in the morning for a 4:15 alarm clock. But I'd rather have that.
Right.
And so, of course, he gets a pilot on the phone. They're sending a plane. And I go, but Paul, I really don't want to get on a little. And he looks at me, my gay agent, by the way. And he looks at me and he says, you're such a pussy. And I felt like Michael J. Fox in the Back to the Future movie.
Chicken. He called you chicken.
He called me a chicken.
Oh.
Yes. Oh.
Your masculinity was put on the line by Gay Paul.
What little there was, but yes. And so, long story short, that little plane came. I strapped myself into the back, and it was a gorgeous evening. The sun was starting to set. There was not even a wisp of wind. It was the most beautiful view of the San Juans, and it was a 6-minute flight.
All this built up.
From Friday Harbor to Anacortes, and we flew over the ferry boat that we missed.
Wow.
And looked down on it and went, you guys stuck behind. And at that point, I said to myself, I have to get over my fear of flying.
So was that it? Was it just like, I've got to get over my fear of flying? Gone? Or
no, not that quick.
Some work on it?
What I ended up doing is I started stalking promotions for flight instruction test flights. And I went to Cessna.com, and they had a thing, beapilot.com. And for $50, you could go up in a plane with an instructor.
Wow.
And I booked that. And I realized when I'm with this instructor that they have you take the controls.
Okay.
These are the ailerons. Here's the rudder. Here's what it does. And for takeoff and landing, their hands are on the dual controls, the yoke. But when you're up in the plane, you're flying it. And after that, I took lessons. And I got my private pilot's license, my float plane license, my instrument license.
You had a float plane license?
I did.
You can land on water?
You can almost walk on water, but you can land on it.
No, I watch every time I go to Seattle for work. I watch the takeoff, and I'll sit on the ship and watch people take off and land on those. I'm like, I don't understand it, but that's amazing.
It is wonderful, and it's easy. In fact, the whole flying thing. So the thing about flying, it's like driving a car. Eventually, it feels like an extension of your body, the plane.
Yeah.
And I realized I thought I was afraid of flying. I wasn't. I was afraid of crashing. It's a difference. Yes. And I'm still afraid of crashing. But if you are trained and you understand it, and you understand how airflow works, and you understand how the plane lifts, you can, take control of it. And so I did. I flew for about 11 years. And then, it's an expensive hobby.
What a great, it's a good reminder of that. That's really any fear is the same thing. It's something that's been wired into my brain that maybe isn't true. It's like something that I'm holding on to, like your scary lamp, that probably would never ever eat you.
I can still visualize that lamp. Seriously,
I was scared of my closet when I was a kid. I can still it was never anything in it, but still sometimes in a hotel room, if there's a closet, I have to go check. Well, and it's in my mind, it's is it gonna be a dead body? I'm like, why would somebody put a dead body in my closet? Why?
Right.
But still, it's because my little kid, I was always afraid of dead bodies being places they're not supposed to.
Ah.
And you know what?
Did you see a chalk outline of somebody somewhere that?
No, I think it's because my dad's a minister, so I went to a lot of funerals as a kid, and so I'm just like, fuck, dead bodies are everywhere.
Part of the gig, yes.
It's time for 5 quick questions.
These are 5 really obscure questions. They're just kind of to get to know you. They're icebreakers, if you will, but you'd never be asked these at a job. You're offered tickets to see Taylor Swift.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, with VIP backstage access. Mm-hmm. But she's performing at a nudist resort and you have to MC the show. Do you do it?
In a heartbeat, no matter how much it hurts everyone to watch. I actually did this in my first radio gig in Seattle. We had a concert called Nude Stock.
Okay.
At a place called Fraternity Snoqualmie, and it was a rock festival with 2,000 naked people and all the performers and everybody. And I believe in that stripping down of. I'll tell you one weird thing about that day.
One weird thing? I've never asked a question and had someone who as livid as you, like lived life, just been like, oh yeah, I've already done that question. I thought it was an obscure one. No, that's a Thursday in Bob Rivers' life.
Well, in the remember we needed ratings, and so and so we held this event, and I was like, I have no idea what this is going to be like. And when you get there, and everybody's taking off their clothes, and there's a couple thousand people. It was like Woodstock, only we're gonna all get naked.
Yeah.
And everybody's taking off their clothes, and I'm thinking like, oh wow, I feel creepy even seeing this. I just gotta sort of I wasn't staring. I was sort of looking away, like nonchalant. Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the whole day, for about 6 hours, it's a naked outdoor rock festival. Bands performing. We even played Nude Twister.
Sure you did. Yeah.
Yeah. I emceed. So at the end of the day, and we have a helicopter that flew overhead and took a picture. I'll text you the picture so I have proof. We made a giant peace sign of naked bodies in a field. At the end of the day, when it was time to go home, people started putting on clothes. And that's when I once again felt that it was nudity, because when you see someone completely naked after a couple hours, it's our natural form. It's who we are.
Right.
But when they put on a bra and panties.
Oh, that's obscene.
That's obscene.
That's
Yes.
tawdry.
That's
Panties.
And so I was like,
Ugh.
oh, I got to look away again because
Yeah.
they're getting dressed. And that always stuck with me.
Question number 2. There's a time machine. It runs on tokens. You're given one token. You can either go back for 1 week, change nothing, just walk around, relive some stuff, or you go back for 1 day and you change something. What do you do?
Ooh. Now that's a harder one for me.
I've asked a few people this, and that's why everybody answers a little bit different, and I get to like collect all these answers and kind of
Okay.
yeah.
Here's what's hard about it. I don't believe in regrets.
Yeah.
No matter what awful happens, I believe, and it's not like religious, but it's sort of spirit of the universe kind of thinking that it's supposed to happen and it happens for a reason and there's a lesson in it and there's something to learn from everything, even if you'd want to change it. So part of me doesn't want to go back and change. However, I know what the lottery numbers are and I live in Vegas.
That's a good answer.
So there's a payday.
All right. See, I respect that answer a lot more. Do you know how many people have been like, well, I have to try to go kill Hitler? I'm like, no, you don't. Every time I've said I would just go back and not change anything, but relive having sex with that one girl from high school. Because
Yes.
I was 16 and everybody, whatever. So I don't know if that's a selfish answer, but that's an honest answer.
But it's also a let it be kind of an answer. I
Yeah.
like that. It's a serenity kind of answer. Which
Yeah.
they're good
Yeah.
ones.
Nice. All right. Question number 3. This one's written specifically for you. You wake up in an empty plane. There's no pilot. Okay. You can either have air traffic control talk you through landing a commercial
Okay.
airplane, or you can read the instructions on the parachute and jump without any verbal instructions. So it's either you read the instructions on the parachute and jump, or you take the verbal instructions and land the plane.
Okay, remember I'm a team player. I'm not a solo act. I'm going with air traffic control.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
think I would go with that one too. So at least I'd
Yeah.
have a phone a friend.
Because I would
And I'm
fuck it up
terrible
alone.
with directions.
Yeah. Yes, me too.
I don't want to
good with-
IKEA dresser this parachute.
like when I get a piece of furniture, the first few things I do is strip some of the screws and mess up the holes.
Yeah, I would probably read them. I'd be panicking, which is how
Yeah.
I backed through my garage door a couple times. I'd be panicking, and I'm sure I would read them, get out, and then be like I don't know, the instructions fly past me, and there was something I left on the plane. Son of a yeah. All right,
Yeah.
question number 4. This is where they get weird. Question number 4, you've been kidnapped. You've been entered into a hot dog eating contest with a gun to your head. How many hot dogs could you eat?
You know that I've had gastric bypass type surgery, right?
Oh, no.
I would certainly try to eat, but I would lose badly in the hot dog eating contest. So he would probably have to shoot me, right?
Okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
you may not make it past the hot dog
yeah.
eating contest. Don't worry.
Give me the plane and air traffic control.
You survived that. There's 3 life or death questions in a row. So you survived the plane. Question 5, though, it's another kidnapping. You've been kidnapped again. This time you've been entered into a karaoke contest. To save your life, what song do you sing?
So I'm a terrible singer, except for baritone. I mean,
Okay.
if all I have to sing is the low part, I can go, Elvira.
You're gonna
My
live.
heart's on fire for Elvira. Something like that. Yeah.
And then the giddy up.
Giddy up, bop, bop, ow. Yes. It's been a while.
All right. That's funny. It's definitely a first. No one has ever
Yeah.
tried to win their life back at a karaoke contest with Elvira. Wonderful. Thank you for playing 5 quick questions with me. Now it is my favorite part of every episode. I'm going to have you sit down and play a Rad Lib with me. And now it's time for Rad Libs. So here's what happened. I've written a story. I've left out some parts of speech. If you give me the parts of speech together, we're going to make a really funny story. Are you ready to play?
I know. Let's go.
Okay.
No, but we're doing it anyway.
A greeting. I just need a greeting.
Salutations.
Yep. I need an adjective.
Slippery.
A country.
Panama.
An article of clothing.
Scarf.
Yes. Plural noun. More than one of anythings.
Rattlesnakes. Okay.
A verb.
I'll go with munch.
Yes. Adverb.
Sheepishly.
Yes. A substance.
Gummy.
Like a marijuana gummy or otherwise?
Your imagination. Yes, could be,
Okay,
definitely.
Okay. Could be weed gummy. Okay.
It depends. If my granddaughters are here, it's the
We'll just say gummies.
innocuous
Okay.
kind. Yes.
Adjective.
Excitable.
Yep. Something you do when traveling.
Sleep.
Yep. An adjective.
Bogus.
Body part.
You're thinking ahead.
I'm reading ahead. I got to stop laughing because I can see what the story is. I'll just try to do it like a therapist, like a Rorschach.
Body part. Oh, I know you like dirty words, so I'll go taint.
Taint, yes. Oh, okay, excellent.
I've been to your show.
Taint, nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
A verb ending in ing.
Oh, like fucking.
That,
I got
okay.
it. No, I'm not going to do. You can do that one. If
you already said it.
My
It's
mother is in heaven looking.
It was
down
an
at me.
accident. It got
was
it.
an
I
accident.
accidentally wrote it down. So many
No, it's fine.
accidents. This okay.
Okay.
Oh boy. A noun.
Dust bunny.
This is, a punishment.
Whip. Oh, actually, with my dad. Strapping. Whichever one you like.
Oh. With my audience, strapping might mean something differently, so I'm going to go with whip.
Go with whipping. Yes.
It really changes the visual. A food.
Cheetos.
A liquid?
Maple syrup.
Yes. A verb?
Hustle.
A
By the way, I
noun?
get faster as we do this because I start to remember 4th grade English.
Yeah, I try to ask fast so people don't overthink it as much.
Yeah. A
yeah.
noun, bottle.
And a plural noun.
Freckles.
We have a story, my friend.
Okay.
We have a fantastic story. Very excited about this. Because of your fear of flying that led to a love of flying, it's just called Up, Up, and Away. Salutations, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for flying the slippery Panamanian Airlines. We ask that you please take a moment to buckle your scarf. Please secure all of your personal rattlesnakes either in the overhead compartment or under your seat.
Snakes on a plane.
Oh my God! I bet Samuel Jackson's on there. In the event of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will munch from the apartment above your head. Sheepishly pull on the tubing to activate the flow of gummies.
That'll take care of your nervousness.
You're gonna be okay. If you're traveling with excitable children, be sure to sleep before assisting them with their masks. In the event of a water landing, a bogus vest is located under your seat.
Uh-oh.
If instructed, place the vest over your taint and start fucking.
And blow the whistle that doesn't actually work. That's perfect.
Yeah, to manual inflate. Blow on the red dust bunny.
Oh, you got that.
As a reminder, smoking is not permitted while on board. Tampering with smoke detectors is punishable by a whipping. They've gotten more strict. The cabin crew will be coming by to offer you Cheetos and maple syrup. Until then, sit back, hustle, and enjoy the rest of the flight. Thank you for flying the slippery Panamanian Airlines, where our motto is 2 wings, 1 bottle, endless freckles.
Beautiful.
You nailed it. You did it.
Given my fear of flying, that's a wonderful conclusion. Thank you so much.
Oh boy, I don't want to be on that plane when they start pointing out life vests.
Cheetos drenched in maple syrup will solve any problem.
Flight attendants trying to help you find where your taint is. Well, Bob, usually I have a comedian plug themselves right now. Is there anything that you want to plug or anything that you want to say to our listeners before I end this?
I will say this. Go check on demand our Bob Rivers Show podcast because Kristin Key will be a guest shortly on the podcast. And
I hate her. I'm not going to listen. She's the worst. What a B word.
And that's fine. And other than that, no, I don't. I just wanted to say this is super important. Get out there and support live talent wherever they are. People like Kristin who get up on stage every day and pour out their heart and soul to make your day happier are some of the best people doing the most important work on the planet. And certainly,
Bob,
yes.
We are. We're better than nurses. We're better than presidents. No, thank you so much.
Okay, you're better than cable news.
Yeah, I'll give you I'm pretty hard on myself, but I'll give myself that one.
Yes.
Thank you. No, thank you for that because live entertainers, it's for some reason we do this because there's nothing else that we could do this passionately, and so that's why we do it at the detriment of our everything. But thank you for saying that, for encouraging people to go out.
Thank you so much for having me on, Kristin.
I'm so glad that you did this. Thank you for coming by.
Interview complete. Saying goodbye to Bob by stuffing him up a chimney and writing a song about it.
Oh, computer lady, you're so nasty. Bob, thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys, the Bob Rivers Show is a podcast that you can listen to right now, so go and subscribe to the Bob Rivers Podcast. Listen, and I am a guest on an upcoming episode, so check that out. So thanks again, Bob. Guys, thank you for listening or watching. Please take a second to leave a comment, like, follow, subscribe to the podcast. Find me. My website is kristinkey.com. You can find all my tour dates. I'm about to go back on the road. I'll be on some ships. I'll be in some cities. So check my website to see when I'm coming to you. Also, look on the website to see when the next Friday Live at 5 is. And watch that show. It's really fun. It's a live streaming show. I play music. We have games. It's silly and it's very juvenile, and I love it. Also, get a cameo for me. I'm on Cameo. And last, please, if you want to support this show or all my shows, join the Patreon. It's so much fun. We have a monthly game night and bonus content. It is just such a welcoming community of weirdos, and it's great. Next time, I'll be bringing you another wonderful comedy guest. We're going to chit-chat, play 5 quick questions, do a Mad Lib, and then everybody will go home happy. Until next time, goodbye.
We're gonna talk to some people, gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna talk to some people, gonna learn a lot of stuff. We're gonna talk to some people, gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna talk to some people, gonna learn a lot of stuff. 'Cause Kristen knows blank.